right, it is that time once again, even though it's 9 minutes late due to me. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Somebody, I guess, needed some beauty rest. A lot of it, if you look at me. Alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish, producer extraordinaire, putting up with my BS, Zach Phillips, Moretto, the pizza man. I am merely Brad Powers. Late, first time ever. I don't know what happened there.
We're in the chat like, we've been doing content with Brad for a year. He's never not been early. Like, did Jeff Sims finally, like, did he croak over Jeff Sims? Like, was that the final nail in the coffin for Brad's, we're about to have to call, the medical report here.
Yeah, to say the least. I don't know. Wish I could turn back time and not need an afternoon cat nap, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, we will recap week 2 of college football. We are going to talk, obviously, prime time. We are obviously going to preview, get an early look at some of the games coming up in week 3. Before we get to any of that, let me remind, though, everybody that Hit the Books is brought to you by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp. BetStamp compares odds across every sportsbook for games, futures, and player props. You can save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Download the app today. If you're looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/hitthebooks or hit the link in the description. If you sign up through this page, it helps support the show. Knish, before we talk some college football, we talked a little bit on Friday, obviously, day after. Any things you want to talk about the Lions specific?
Well, I mean, it's all we won the division already. Week 1. Week 1. I mean, you have to like the Vikings loss. The Bears, all the Bears. You can come. Hopefully, there's some Bears fans in the chat that are telling me like, oh, they got the best organization in football. Justin Fields is the next QB. They're trash. It's over. Looking forward. Also, friend of the show, the Hitman, talked me. I only have a dime on Lions look ahead -2.5. I should have had a lot more, but friend of the show told me, oh no, it's going to be Seattle. I think there's a big difference between a juice 3 and 6. So yes, I'm a little salty about my light position on the Lions this week. But also a little salty that Jeff's. I think that Joey K should be like the new. Go back to running the triple option at Nebraska. It's got to be better than what they've been doing 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that because, I mean, obviously we'll take some medicine there. Besides the wake-up medicine for me, should have had enough of wake-up medicine for how the performance was last week, 2-6 on Saturday, including obviously the highlight one that everyone's talking about. We had Nebraska +4, closes 2.5. Nobody wants to hear about CLV. I thought, I'll be honest with you, wasn't saying much early. I thought we were in a pretty good position. I had a smirk on my face at the start of that game when Nebraska's defense was dominating. It just so happens that there's, 2 sides to a football team, and the other side for Nebraska struggled to take a snap. And, shame, it has nothing really to do with Colorado, so to speak. Shame on me for betting on Jeff Sims. I mean, we should have seen this. I mean, I like to think of myself as being able to watch. I watch college football. Well, I guess I didn't watch enough Georgia Tech games. Didn't watch, forget anything at Georgia Tech. Didn't watch, I guess I didn't have enough, money to pay and watch the Minnesota game from the week prior when he pretty much lost in that game. I'll be honest, he lost the game first half for Nebraska. There was an opportunity for them to be up double digits. Yeah. I know Dion said, we dominated. Dude, when we forced turnovers, I think he said one of those comments, forced turnovers? You guys, what, do you force snap issues? I mean, come on. So,
yeah. I mean, I had a tweet about how Matt Rule turned over this Nebraska defense in one season, and it was a serious tweet. Like, I was being serious, and after the game, I was getting people that thought I was trolling. I wasn't trolling. The defense was playing for the first, 3 quarters, 2.5 quarters. The defense was playing, unbelievable. And then eventually the dam you see that in a lot of games where a defense is playing great, their offense is doing nothing, handing the ball to the opponent. Eventually the dam just broke. And they lost, from being able to stop Colorado. Then they gave up a few plays. And Jeff Sims at that point, he looked like a broken man in that second half. I mean, you were calling for the benching early, but I don't think it was just about there was some obviously some snap issues and stuff. The second half of the game, he looked like mentally, and I know he missed some I think he missed practice today or something. I don't know if he had what he was dealing with, but like he looked broken. I'm surprised they didn't go to the backup earlier there. And now you're looking at this Nebraska. Like they were a team, and again, I mean, I'm fine. We took some Nebraska, regular season win under positions that should be good, but this could have been, if they even had, average quarterback play, a potential, live team in the West, a 7-8 win team. Instead, this season could go off the rails because they just don't have a quarterback. So it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they have any faith in the backup. So yeah, I mean, they misfired on one transfer portal QB and they're in trouble.
This is in the weeds a little bit, but also pay attention to coaching hires because Tony White, defense coordinator for Nebraska, pretty much was applauded as a really good hire coming over from Syracuse. And Marcus Satterfield, the offense coordinator hire that Rule made, was not applauded.
Oh, no, that too.
South Carolina was happy that he got hired away. So pay attention to that. That's kind of, when you watch them play, I mean, it's kind of worked out to what the general thought process was, consensus among those two hires. So, yeah, I agree with you. As far as Colorado, though, let's talk a little bit about them. Obviously, you got to continue to upgrade the power rating. And, I think I said it to a few people. Look, there can be two truths to this. Number one, Colorado's a hell of a lot better than what we thought, including myself. Keep in mind, I upgraded Colorado more than any team in the country in the offseason. I've already upgraded them double digits in 2 games. But what also could be true is they just got done playing 2 fundamentally flawed football teams and beat them. So I don't want to downplay it too much, but we just got done saying Nebraska's messed up at quarterback. TCU, I mean, defense. When you see what Nebraska did to Colorado in the first half, you got to question, well, how bad is TCU's defense? Because, I mean, Colorado's struggling to get first down. So we'll see. It was a TCU-Nebraska team, like you mentioned, that we both bet under their win total. So we weren't high on either one of those coming in this season. Talk win total quick, and then we can talk, Colorado this week. We can talk Colorado down the road because they're posting they don't care. They're taking money from guys like myself. They might as well post the rest of their schedule. We got to continue to upgrade their power rating 5 points every week. And I take bad numbers, but win total, I'm seeing some alternative. You sent it to me. Colorado now posting at 7. How stupid my under 5.5 looks now. What do you make of that? And what do you think down the line here? Are we going to continue to fade this Colorado team, or are we going to sit back for a week or so?
I had to bet. I thought about last week, with the 5.5 and adding something to. I bet the 7. There was a season. I mean, it was go. I don't know if we want to give there was a 7 under 7 minus 125 out there. I mean, they play Oregon, USC, UCLA, Oregon State, at Wazoo, at Utah. And to even to win that bet, you're talking about them having to at least win 2 of those games for them. I mean, I just listen. Do they have a shot to go bowling? Absolutely. They can beat Colorado State this weekend. They got Stanford, but even I mean, we've talked about on the show. The Pac-12 is a real deal. This stretch of games where obviously you said a couple of fundamentally flawed teams, week 1, week 2. Nothing wrong. They took advantage of it. They're obviously significantly improved. The buzz around the program is palpable. Deion's doing everything he should do. But to get to 8, I mean, you're talking about having to be some of the top 10 to 15 teams in the country. Yep. So yeah, listen, we've already taken some positions on some of those look aheads. I've already, I played the under 7 today. The king. No, it's not the king. Yeah, there you go. I bet that at minus 125. It's minus 130 now. I would still bet it.
You would moving lines. It's 5 cents.
Yeah, call me a hater. Whatever you want there. I'm not. Listen, I respect everything that he's done. The turnaround has been miraculous. They're fun. His son is going to be an NFL quarterback. To get to 8 with the games they have remaining is just a massive ask for a team that I don't think their defense is good, and their offensive line, I think they've given up the second most pressures in the country. I mean, Nebraska had 7 or 8 sacks. I mean, They've been extremely fortunate. I just can't see this continuing to the point. I think they can go bowling. To get to 8, come on now. I'll pay to see it. Just like I paid to see them cover, the last weekend. I'll pay to see them win 8.
Yeah, a couple of comments considering Colorado in the chat. FanDuel, Oregon -14.5 Colorado. We did get involved on that one. I think part of me wants Colorado to kind of blow out Colorado State and let this continue to go while I can, get in front of a bigger game and get a better number against a team I'm probably more comfortable with, because Colorado State's going to start a new quarterback this week. We'll see. They look like crap against Washington State. But, yeah, that was one that we took part in. Edad in the chat, Oregon -14 or less. Yeah, that's what we pounced on.
Yeah, and even the next week against USC, there was a -10.5, a -11 out there. One book.
Yeah,
that too. Listen. Like these are lines that, and I know obviously they're much better. You're talking about a few weeks ago, these would have been 35, legitimate, not LOL. They'd be 35, legitimately, these would have been a 35-point dog. And so they're much better. I still think they have a number of issues that'll come to roost against teams that are have a functional offense and can actually snap the football and catch it and throw passes.
Jonathan Reed finally in the chat about Colorado, and we'll get to some other teams. Under 6.5 plus 128. A half win total is worth what? When you're dealing with 12 regular season games, you're talking it's worth at minimum 50 cents. That's being conservative. It's closer to 70 cents, but I guess doing the math off the top of my head, it's similar. I don't know. I feel like I need every half win I can get with this damn team now at this point. It sucks because 5.5 looks so damn good. And people were like, oh, you got liability. Well, I'm so thankful Bet Online was just taking pizza bets at the time. Otherwise I would have some significant liability on this damn Colorado team. I would still say shop around, folks. You wouldn't believe how many times half wins come into. I bet almost every win total. They come into play quite a bit. So if you have the ability, I would rather play under 7. I'm pretty. I still think there's a possibility there's a 5-7 team, Knish. I just really do think that. I'm not being overly negative. I saw some of the warts appear against Nebraska in that first half.
Yep.
Let's get to some other games. Obviously, got to talk. I'm wearing the hat. Let's talk Knish being right. I know we talked about 2 and 6 on the bets, but I probably prevented him from having Texas on the card. Not that I was pro Alabama. It's just I thought the line was right. But I got to tell you, start to finish, just like you said in the beginning of summer, you like Texas in this game. And I'm here to tell you, start to finish, they were the better team. There wasn't no flukiness going on. If you remember how Alabama loses these games in the last 10, 15 years, it's the kick six. It's Johnny Football making a ton of plays. It's just a random stupid stuff. I think Ole Miss, I remember a guy, bouncing up in the air. There's 5 turnovers in the game. There wasn't that. Texas was a better team. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Quinn Ewers looked like a top 5 quarterback. Sarkisian play calling was superior to Nebraska side of the ball. For Alabama, if you follow 247s, they have these college team talent rankings. Alabama's supposed to have the most talented roster ever right now. If you follow the recruiting rankings, I don't see it. I don't. I see a lot of big dudes. I don't see a lot of agility. And maybe they can run fast in a straight line, but man, sideline to sideline, they don't have much wiggle. A thing that we've been saying is Alabama the last couple of years doesn't do the little things, penalties, on turnovers. And what was saving them in a lot of these close games the last couple of years was Bryce Young going to make a play. Well, guess what? Bryce Young's not walking through that door. Now you got Jalen Milroe. He's causing even more plays. He throws a bad interception early. There was a bad interception late in the game when they could trying to come back in the game. You and I said this first time we took a preseason position. We wanted under the win total on Alabama, and so far so good.
Yeah, you just said Jalen Milroe, when he has to sit there, and there was a bunch of opportunity. Now he can make some wild throws, but when he has to sit back there in the pocket, he just doesn't have it. He's even got kind of the yips, where he doesn't feel comfortable just sitting there and surveying the scene, and that doesn't. I don't think that works against real defenses, real teams. And you saw Texas; they ton of pressure, great defensive game plan. That I was I was even honestly a little surprised at how much pressure they got. Anthony Hill looks like an absolute superstar they have on defense there. And again, we saw a little bit of the maturation of Quinn Ewers there. I don't think he could have played like that in that type of environment a year ago. There was a number of games, he kind of lost it on the road last year, and he was just cool as a cucumber, man. Made some clutch deep throws. And Sark, I think that was kind of Sark had it dialed up. He had the offense moving, but it's a flawed Bama team. You mentioned it, last week with the offensive line of just
they got dominated.
They can't line up and run the ball against a real team. And when you don't have a quarterback like Bryce Young who can kind of hold, and as you said, like they don't have the super first round wide receiver and skill talent on this look. So I think their defense is still pretty good, but it's not. To overcome the faults they have on offense, it would have to be elite, and it's not. And you saw, you said it, like Texas. They play this game again next week. I think the line's closer to a field goal or a pick or something. Texas is a better team than Alabama this year. So yeah, I don't think that's the last loss on the schedule for Mr. Saban.
Yeah, and it's not like a lot of the SEC teams are wowing us, but I don't know. What's there you can really hang your hat on? I agree with the defense, but I think there's some liabilities there. And secondary mentioned, hey, they had some key guys out, but look, kudos for Sark for picking on the safety. Caleb Downs is going to be a great player, but in his second game of his career as a true freshman, they took advantage of him in the middle and the back end there. I don't know, man. Again, with Bryce Young at quarterback, go through the games last 2 years. They had 5 games each season where it came down to one possession, and now you don't have Bryce Young making the play late. Would have lost to Texas last year if it wasn't for Bryce Young. So I don't think we should be overwhelmingly stunned here what happened. Kudos for Texas, though. Let's talk positive. This is not Big 12 championship or bust. This is almost unless there's an injury to Ewers or something really goes haywire. This is now playoff or bust. This is a legitimate team. How do you guard? How do you defend them? Multiple wide receivers. Sanders is a receiving tight end as good as anybody in the country. They're only going to get, as they get more reps at running back, they're only going to get better. They got a relatively young offensive line that got better as that game went on. Defensive line, I said it, they look like a top 5 unit in the Rice game. They sure as hell showed it. You got Anthony Hill, a 5-star true freshman. He's only going to get better. This is a legit team. The only team that can hang with them right now, from what I see in the Big 12, is Oklahoma, and I still think there's some question marks there. That game can't get here soon enough.
Yeah, I guess the only question is, like, can Texas stay at this level for under Sark, under that leadership, for another 10 weeks? They can probably, obviously the Big 12 doesn't look super imposing. There's a lot of the Pac-12 looks good. The Big 10's obviously going to get one. So I think they only have, the margin for error of like one game. So can they go through the rest of the slate where, again, they'll be favored in all these games, but can they get through it without tripping up against Oklahoma or Kansas or at Kansas State? So they've got the talent. They got the real deal. They'll obviously, as you said, will be chalk in all these games. But do they have the discipline and the culture and all that to actually get there this year without dropping any of those? So, hey, it'll be fun to see. And if they do, we said it over. I think Quinn is probably your early Heisman. He's not favored at most places, but I think if
Caleb's still favored.
Yeah,
I wouldn't make that bet. I wish I could bet the no.
I agree. I don't think people will want to give them back to back. I don't think that USC is going to go undefeated. So I like you can still get it. Ewers 10-1 or JJ McCarthy. We'll get into some Michigan.
We'll talk that.
I will get into some Michigan. I think there's a couple of the bets on the board there if you want to fade Caleb Williams, which I'm okay doing, where that's got some value in the Heisman market.
A lot of, I think Jordan Travis got another opportunity to make a statement next week. Yep. Notre Dame is more live against Ohio State than originally anticipated. Sam Hartman would be in the mix if he got a high-profile win next week. I think more Heisman discussion we could talk after, because this week's games, I love college football. I'll bet anything. Obviously I bet FCS. I mean, I bet high school football 5 dimes old school back in the day. But this slate isn't as attractive as far as the big games like we had last weekend. Next weekend is that next week when we have a bunch of big games. So we'll talk more Heisman next week. A lot of people in the chat wanting the games and win totals. Austin M, he's been waiting a while here. Charlotte plus 7.5. You know what? That's one that I didn't bet, although suspicion tells me and history says 1 week after I line up the Fada team and I, give out, Connecticut, they'll be able to run the ball against. Did you see Georgia State's defense against Rhode Island? And all of a sudden it's like running into a brick wall. Connecticut can't do anything. Something tells me that, 1 week later that those deficiencies that I saw watching Georgia State play Rhode Island, maybe they show up. But with that being said, this is one of the very few games I did not bet side or total in this one. Did you take part in this?
A little bit of just a small bet on a flat 7 on Georgia State. I kind of be looking, if I wanted to take a real position, it'd have to get under a TD. I'd like everything Biff Poggi is doing at Charlotte. I think their defense is, obviously significantly improved from that. Their offense is still really, really bad. They got kind of out to a lead on Maryland where we're playing with them for a minute. And then they just couldn't move the ball. And eventually Maryland overwhelmed. And I know it's a Big Ten team that's obviously got more talent, but I would be surprised offensively if they can keep up with the Georgia State team that has a potent offense. I think they got some holes on D, but it's really lacking for Charlotte this year, and it's kind of a year zero. Again, I believe in what they're doing there. I'm not gonna back them at this number. It would be more probably looking like later in the year if they're struggling somewhat. So it would be Georgia State or nothing for me. I would need a little bit more on Charlotte.
Fair enough. Jacob Schmidt in the chat. Thoughts on JMU Troy? Another game. A lot of people are asking me about this one. Handicapping 101 says probably Troy's the right side. Get blown out at home. JMU gets a fortunate win against Virginia. They rally. If you watch that game, I mean, I literally thought Virginia was going to somehow pull that game out and win it outright. The weather delay, and we can talk about that. A lot of weather delays last weekend kind of gives you some uneven game flows. Look at some of these games that were weather delay. I mean, it looks like one team is the superior team heading in, and before the weather break, you got a 2-hour weather delay, and then they look like entirely different teams. That was one where Virginia's up 12. Entering the fourth quarter, weather delay, boom, bang. James Madison comes out of the break. They score the last 2 touchdowns and then win the game. So do I see value? I don't know. I see the markets move towards Troy. Are you part of this money?
No, I didn't want it to. You know what? I agree with you on the James Madison being, significant stuff. I will say Troy's defense is not the same defense. They lost their coordinator, Shieldwood, who's gone over to Tulane and made that defense look. That guy he wouldn't be a head coach pretty soon. It's just not the same Troy team. I agree with it. I think that's, kind of the right side there, but it wasn't one that I was looking to get too involved in, especially around, a pick either way. If it got to, if it gets to 3, maybe I'll consider getting on some James Madison. But Troy's obviously, I was part of the Troy money last week. Obviously didn't get home, got pretty dominated by Kansas State. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say they've taken a significant step back this year. But even with we said James Madison, probably should have lost out and get a little weather break. I had some UVA money line in the round robin, so that really made me happy there. After James Madison comes back and blows my UVA money line, but it's not one that I have too much interest in so far.
How about Florida plus 7? Jack Madden in the chat. You know what? I bet Florida on the game of the year above 7.5. I really didn't think much of it. Even, when the line opened up, I think Circa opened up 4, which I thought was low. I probably would have bet Tennessee. Somebody beat me to it. And then I didn't even think anything of it. And then I saw Florida got some action today in the markets, what I would consider sharper variety. I don't know if I'm there, and I'm sitting on a Florida ticket from a few weeks ago when I bet Florida in this game. I haven't been wowed by anything I've seen from them, starting with the Utah game. Although I will say this, Tennessee was another weather delay, so I don't think I got a great data point on Tennessee last week in the Austin P game. But something tells me, even though they easily won and covered the Virginia game, they are not running on all cylinders on offense on a possession-by-possession basis like they were under Hendon Hooker. It feels like I mean, Joe Milton can wow you with a couple of big throws, and then they'll go three and out, like 3 drives in a row.
Yep.
So that would worry me with Tennessee's. What say you? It's one of the more marquee games of the weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not. You nailed it here. Where Tennessee in their, like the week one, it kind of looked like the final score is a little deceiving. Even against Austin P, I mean, they're laying a massive number. I think it closed
48.
Yeah, 48. And I mean, they don't even have any shot to cover in this game. As you said, it's just not super efficient with Milton at the controls here. I mean, I think it's a significant step down from Hendon Hooker and a guy, Milton, a ton of preseason, kind of hype. He just hasn't looked the part so far as a guy that I really want to be back in. I think Florida even a little bit. I mean, and I even said it after the game versus Utah. They've been a touch better than I thought they'd be, even offensively with Mertz and that. So I kind of understand a little bit of the steam there. With that said, especially now that it's under a TD, am I wanting any piece of Florida in this one? No. Honestly, if it's kept steaming down, I might even be looking at Tennessee at some point. But I guess I understand where some people are taking here with some of the inconsistency, as you said, we've seen in Tennessee. But it's another one that I haven't gotten particularly involved in.
I did bet the under. What's your thoughts on that? I think Florida can get game control a little bit, and Tennessee again offensively is what I think their defense is starting to get better. I think their defense is better than what's been the last couple of years. And then again, Milton taking several possessions off. I kind of, in a big game early in the season, kind of under for me. What say you there?
Yep, no, I'm with you. I would lean that way, as you said, and some in the chat, even a little bit more Florida money coming in now, down to 5 at circa. I think just
holy
popped
cow!
over there.
What is this? Is there? I got to look. I mean, that was a game that I was thinking I was going to have much money on. Interesting.
Yeah. It's definitely
an injury. You got more injury connections than I do.
I know. I have, and you know what? If you got hold on here, got a FanDuel. They got a juice 7.5 on Florida, which is probably worth submitting.
Yeah, well, let's submit it. I mean, I have 7.5 in pocket again. Bet it just a couple weeks ago, so we'll lay the extra juice there. Yeah, I don't think it's going back up. To be honest with you, I don't think this is a head fake in the market.
No, I would agree. Yeah, that especially if the circus taking a real bet right now going down. I agree, and then, you know what? I just think that there's some significant flaws with Tennessee. That's probably a little bit not. I don't know if it's a correctable thing. It's has been Joe Milton his entire career. People got a very small sample last year and thought it would train. It was the way he was at Michigan. It's the way he looks this year. Big arms, some splash plays, but series to series, he's just an inefficient, kind of inconsistent quarterback that doesn't have the mobility to kind of extend drives in that. So I think Florida over TD is the right side there.
There we go. First bet. We got more coming your way, guys. Promise you. Not sure that this one will be one though. Ryan Shoemaker in the chat. Florida Atlantic plus 24. Herman as a dog plus look ahead spot for Clemson. It's another one I didn't bet. I was thinking about Florida Atlantic, but man, they didn't look good at all. Ohio controlled them, and that was not a fluke upset win for Ohio there. And Ohio won not the way I expected. I thought Ohio could win like shootout variety. I didn't think Ohio was going to win scoring 17 points. So that worried me. I would normally say look ahead, but with Clemson already embarrassed on national TV, I don't think they're looking ahead. I mean, they got off to a ridiculously slow start against Charleston Southern. I'm like, oh my God, this is really bad for Clemson. And then somehow they almost covered the huge number. I don't think they're laying the foot off the gas pedal right now. They can't with already a loss against Duke. What say you here? I didn't bet Clemson, though. I'm not recommending that.
No, actually, some of the guys I bet with bet a little Clemson at 23.5 last night.
Okay.
And so there was some money that moved it up, last night and earlier this morning. I'm like you talk about two different data points in week 1 and week 2 between FAU. Week 1, you're like, oh baby, they're rolling. Tom Herman's got this team's gonna. And then last week versus Ohio against a team that we're thinking that could be a game that is like 35-38 or something like that. Not a program not known for their defense. Couldn't move the ball. Couldn't really and there wasn't a lot. So I don't have a really with a lot of the changes FAU in the offseason, I don't have a great like read on them at the moment or a strong opinion on a lot of their games. Again, I probably, but I'm obviously with first 2 weeks I'm not really there with Clemson either. But can they? This seems like the type of opponent that they can overwhelm when they can run the ball in that system. I think it's a lot easier for them to kind of overwhelm opponents and kind of run up a number. And the defensive front is still very good. So yeah, it would probably be at minus 24. I would lean that way. But another one that I don't have at current too strong of a take on.
Yeah, and I'm anxious to get to next weekend with Clemson. I guess, look, I think you got to be, concerned, obviously not just the Duke game, but going back to the end of last year. But I also wonder, there were some fluke plays. I mean, I'll side with Dabble a little bit. There was some things that happened in the Duke game that I wonder if they didn't, and say Clemson somehow wins by 3. They don't fumble at the goal line a couple times. If we're even talking about the sky is falling with Clemson here. Going to, first off, let's make sure we get to 100 likes. If you don't want to hit the like for me because I was sleeping and I was late, like it for Phillips and Knish for putting up with my sleepy ass today. So that won't happen again. I can promise you that. There'll be some that's not tolerable in my household. Let's just say if that happened in my household growing up, it wouldn't have been fun. I promise you guys I won't be late again. Make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button. A few other games here. We'll keep it rolling. Looking at, I was looking at Connor Hartle. I didn't know what games he was looking at here. How about Christopher in the chat? Mizzou plus 4.5, Kansas State. I think they're the right side. I was hoping the market be a little bit more patient. Maybe we'd see some more 6s. Haven't seen it. It touched 6 for a little bit, but not enough and not widely available enough. Do you think they're the right side? Now, that's contrarian because Mizzou looked like shit against Middle Tennessee. I bet them. I got in front of like a 4-point line move. I didn't even come close. I mean, they barely scored enough to forget the, covering the point spread. They barely scored the point spread as far as last week goes. And Kansas State's, looked pretty good in that second half against Troy. There were some conflicting, groups on Kansas State and against Kansas State last week in the Troy game that Kansas State wins and covers. They also looked good in week 1 against a decent FCS opponent. I want to take Mizzou, but I'm not there yet. We're in that dead spot. Is it going up or going down?
I would think it's kind of leaning like a trend up. Yeah, I would need more than this on Mizzou. As you said, like there was a point where I'm like they're going to lose this Middle Tennessee State game, and I mean it was in doubt to the very last minute. And Kansas State seems like a machine so far this year. Kind of the program that's been overperforming their talent for like 35 years, going back whenever Kurt Snyder got the higher Klieman, and they're still doing it. So I'm not there with Mizzou. I agree with you. When I saw this steaming up, the target there was to more like, let's see if we can get a juice 7 and it goes through. Bought a little bit back there at 6. Totally in the dead zone for me at the moment. But again, I'm backing Missouri is just a little bit concerning to go. But I'm not totally there on where Drinkwitz has had it going from the moment. I know a couple Mizzou fans that are pretty frustrated with the season and the direction at the moment. And Brady Cook and just I know they tried Sam Horn in week 1. He didn't look great at all. So yeah, I'm cautiously there. I would need a bigger number to kind of back Mizzou on the side. Otherwise, it's probably take my medicine from fading Kansas State last week.
There you go. Oh, you were part of that group against that. That was some wild movement there. We almost hit 17 and buyback. That was interesting. A lot of people I respected were on that game on opposite sides. Carlos Bilbao in the chat. Northwestern plus 19. I'm leaning that way. I like it. I bet that. I like it quite a bit. You were
stone cold on Northwestern last week and nailed it. I mean, they put it to UTEP. Like that wasn't a game that was.
Turnovers had something to do with it, but still, I mean, they won by 31. I don't even think people thought they could score 31 points in 3 games, let alone beat an opponent by 31. I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I love now we're getting to week 3. I can start connecting the dots with games, and I have a pretty good memory. But I mean, go back to the Rutgers game. Yeah. I watched that game, and I get Northwestern look bad, but then something told me, I'm like, wow, Rutgers might be better than expected. Rutgers, fourth quarter dominates Temple, easily runs away with that one. Rutgers takes money, and I'll tie this all together. Rutgers takes money in this week. They're laying 7 at home against Virginia Tech, 5 against Northwestern 2 weeks ago, 7 now. So maybe somebody thinks Rutgers is pretty good out there in the marketplace. And then everybody's obviously down on Northwestern because of the scandal and whatnot. I think once you start playing games, that stuff is – you don't think about that until some other bad stuff continues to happen to you. And it didn't last week. They got, a confidence-boosting win. And then on the Duke side, I love Mike Elko. It's tough fading him, but a lot of fluky things happen. Everyone in the world watched the Clemson game and, saw him win 28-7, but it wasn't a 28-7 box score. And with a low total, I don't want to be laying in that situation. So I'm taking. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, that would be, you know what, as I think I was going to connect with you there, that maybe like Rutgers is just better than what I thought coming into the season. Wimsatt looks like he's taking a little bit of step. They look much better. I mean, they've handled their business going far. And I know that was a Friends of the Show Right Angle release today. They gave out some Rutgers, so that blasted up to, a touchdown versus VT.
What do you think of that line now, though? It's all number dependent. I would bet Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not. It would be, I'm not. If anything, I agree. At 7 or even some places crossed through the 7 briefly, I bought back down there.
Okay, we saw some buyback then.
Yeah,
I guess when I was taking my cat nap, Virginia Tech +7 got hit. That's what happens, folks. That's why you can't sleep this time of year. You got to be in front of the screen. I agree with the Virginia Tech buyback at 7. Look, I think all services.
You should blame Moretto for making you get up at 4 a.m. or whatever they're making you do here.
I'm not going to get too much into it. I literally didn't sleep last night. I fucked up my foot somehow. I don't know. I guess getting old. It's all swelled up. I didn't sleep at all. So I did that show. I was fine. All of a sudden, noon hit, and it was good night, Irene, I guess, for me. Thankfully, I woke up when I did. To be honest with you, I don't know what woke me up. Knish's Lions chants or something. I could hear all the way here. Let's keep getting to some games here. Win totals. Man, I got to look at this market because it seems like a lot of people are. I looked at it a couple weeks and I think they're pricing them right. Thoughts on Kansas under 7.5 -140? No, I'm not there.
I'm not there either. They're real deal.
I got a loser. I've been under 6.5 preseason. That's a loss. They're legitimate, man. I tweeted this while I was watching the game on Friday night. I mean, their offensive play calling is elite. It's elite. Look at these formations. The personnel groupings, the motion, pre-snap motions. And when Jalen Daniels is on, I mean, he's good. You want to talk, I'm not going to say Heisman. They're not going to win enough games, but he's a really good college quarterback. I mean, this team's live in any game. I don't care who they're playing. No, under 7.5. I think looking at my power ratings, I'm right at 7.5 right now. And I was down on Kansas coming in this season. Any win totals you're out there? There's some other people. Colorado under 6.5 +140. Did any catch your eye? Because I looked last week and I thought, these were all right in line with my power ratings as far as those updated win totals.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Colorado, obviously the one we already talked about was kind of one that was stuck out just because like the entire world is loving Colorado at the moment. But most of the Power 5, they usually only repost the major teams and kind of the Power 5 programs. So, and for the most part, you might catch them off a little bit here and there, but I think they're typically pretty good. It's again, it's not that hard for a book to kind of adjust that when they're putting out, depending on the. So overall, I didn't think there was anything that Colorado was just one when there was a 7 out there that was like, okay, this has gotta be a little bit over, but for the most part, I think they're pretty fair.
I saw someone in chat this a while ago caught my eye. Miami 9.5. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but I got Miami at like 9.5 wins. Now that was something I thought that team looked pretty damn good. Something to keep an eye on though. They cluster injuries on the defensive line, got banged up. That was a violent game. If you watched that game, and that was one of our winners. I got a 2 in our horn on that one. That was easy. Should have bet that one more on the over A&M Miami last week, but no, Miami's win total now 9.5 makes sense. I mean they look as good as anybody in the ACC so far besides Florida State. So, and they get Clemson at home. North Carolina didn't look good. So, no,
I'll be honest with you. I was shopping some Miami ACC future prices last night and today.
Shopping. You might as well open up my portfolio here. I got 28-1.
Oh, there you go. That there was no. I'll tell you what, not 28-1 now. Because I would listen. I was not a believer. I was not a Mario believer. Obviously, we took the points last week, but I did not expect. And again, major steam on Miami. Respect the money that came in, and it was the stone cold nuts on that one. Like they also. DJ Durkin, who I think is like the highest paid DC in the country.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a problem. It's a big problem because there's way too much talent on that defense to be getting sliced like that. But no, you look at the ACC, and as you said, with Clemson not being up to snuff so far this year, and North Carolina being, Louisville doesn't like. Outside of Florida State, who's your next team in line there? For right now, I'd be saying it's Miami. And that's just not based off one. But listen, it's no secret.
They apart. It ain't one game.
They didn't look at the athletes they have on the field. So and there's not many teams in the ACC. This isn't the SEC. Not many teams in the ACC can roll out with that kind of talent. So now that they've got functional coordinators on both sides of the ball, they're going to be dangerous.
I was impressed with. I know it's going back to the Miami of Ohio game, but I watched that game. I was impressed then because I thought Miami of Ohio was still halfway decent. They went out and covered against UMass the next week. So 38-3 over Miami of Ohio was even impressive. So it wasn't just the A&M game. A couple more. Where to talk Kansas State? Mizzou in the chat. Holden. That's in a dead spot. Not only with the line between me and Knish there. Let's talk Georgia Southern. Getting 19.5 now. Sharp group. Laid it with Wisconsin. Man, I laid it. Thank you to Circa. I laid 14. Wisconsin disappointing last week. Actually disappointing against Buffalo too. When you look at what Buffalo did the very, very next week. But I don't know. I thought it was a little short. Even though I was Mr. Georgia Southern last week. Are you part of this Wisconsin team? I wouldn't play it now, but I'm in position. I like my Wisconsin position in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, no, obviously it's taken. And I know some guys I bet with. We've been a little squawking back and forth. They liked Wisconsin. They laid it. I'm going to be on Georgia Southern at some point here in the number. Especially now.
Let's say a 19.5, or you want to wait for a 20?
Yeah, it looks like Circa had a 20, so I'm going to give it a little bit more, breathing room there. But I just don't believe in this Wisconsin offense at the moment. And you saw it versus Wazoo. Our Braylon Allen prop, 6 catches, 7 targets, can't get over the 16.5 yards. Jesus. So yeah, that one hit me in the gut. But it just
keep them coming. I want them. If the chat doesn't want them, I don't care. Keep them coming. I'll bet them.
That one, no, but Mordecai, I think he's looked kind of particularly average. And again, so I'm just not a buyer. And again, I know Georgia Southern, they played a couple of cupcakes here. Their defense is not going to be good, but to me, I think offensively, they're not going to have a problem going in and at least kind of being able to try and keep this within 3 touchdowns. So yeah, I know market's going to be against me there. Some guys I bet with are against me there. Obviously, you got a great number at open, but now that it's trickling up to especially I can get 20, 21. So I'm going to be.
I think it's going to go there. I was going to stop you if you want to give Georgia Southern. I think it's going to touch there. So
yeah. So yeah, that might be a Friday show look.
Good segue there for Friday show. Make sure we give out some really good bets even later in the week. We just don't get out in front of numbers and ruin markets like I get accused of all the time. We do give out stuff on the day before the game.
People are paying for this Florida State beast. The total has come down about 8 points here with the weather, and it looked like the side is coming to. I chased a little bit of the 28 that was out there. It seems it's steaming down at the moment. The total has just gotten absolutely obliterated. The only thing I would caution on the hurricane stuff is
we're way out.
One, we're way out, and 2, if it's bad enough, they either move the game, or if there's any lightning within 80 miles of the freaking stadium, they delay the game 12 hours now. So it's like I understand playing, but like. It's so dicey early in the week with it's almost like the weather has to be like bad enough
Holy
where it
cow, look
affects
at
the
that.
total significantly, but not so bad where they move the game or they're going to be able to lay it. It's like you need high winds, but no lightning and stuff. So I just think you're really this early in the week with the rules now and how conservative they are with the gameplay. It's just you're kind of. I understand taking the shot early, but now I would not touch it now. Now that it's down in the
If
low
anything, let
order.
the market continue to do it and bet the over.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
I tweeted this out last year. A lot of middling opportunities. There was 1 week last week where almost every game was like double-digit line move, and over half of them you could have middled them. So that's what I'll be looking at to see the forecast. If it gets better, over for me, because I gotta be honest with you, I think Florida State can get there themselves at 48.5.
And Mick, will the best be void. You gotta read the rules of where you're betting on that, because some places do, some places don't. Some places it's like 48 hours or a week if they play the game. So you got to see the house rules there if you're gonna. So if you that's one. If you wanna, you bet under early, you'd want it at a book where they're not gonna void it on depending on when they're gonna play it in that. So yeah, just make sure you know what the status is.
Speaking of weather unders, were you sleeping when I did the show earlier today? I took FIU Connecticut under. I liked it regardless of the weather. It could be sunshine and calm winds, and I like the under because I don't think FIU's offense is as good as what we just saw against that pathetic North Texas defense. And I question Connecticut's ability to move the ball after watching that game. What you think of that one? It's moved 3 points. It hasn't moved 10 points like the Florida State game, but it's moved 3 points. What'd you think of that one?
Yeah, no, that I listen. I like the side there, as you said. Just even on the surface alone, take out weather. This is FIU can't pass. So this is a game where Connecticut. What have we thought about Connecticut's D line? Is they should be able to stop. A
should they didn't stop Georgia State?
Well, hopefully, I would say FIU hopefully a little less potent than Georgia State. And you should be able to game plan for a team that literally cannot throw the ball. And on the flip side of things, Connecticut's offense so far, yikes. I know our boy Fragano from Maine has come over, and they were thinking that could be a little bit of a solution. Does not look like that was the solution to their offensive woes here. And I don't see a lot of potential in their offense. Just from the players they have on the field, and that it seems like a team that is going to have to, if they can't line up and run the ball, they're really going to struggle. And so far, and you've seen in the first couple of games that they just haven't been moved the ball at all. So, no, I'm with you there. And at the number you got and the number you gave, that one is definitely going to be good in terms of where it's going to close.
Thank you for that. Needed that one. Eat that in the chat. Syracuse, Purdue. Any thought? Open Purdue 2.5. And I'll flip to Syracuse 2.5. I love Syracuse. One of my favorite bets of the week. I love total too. I love this game. I want to get your thoughts on it. Maybe we can get a bet out of this one. I'll give you quickly my thoughts. I'm still not buying Purdue yet. They lost to Fresno at home. Fresno almost lost to Eastern Washington. So and then last week's data point, kudos. They went and beat Virginia Tech on the road, but that was a 6-hour delay. They're up big. They're tied. And somehow Virginia Tech doesn't score in the second half. I don't know what to make of that one. As far as the data point, it's kind of garbage. The market hates Virginia Tech, the team they just beat, because if we talked about the Rutgers spread already, I don't like Purdue here. And I'll tell you, I know Syracuse played a couple tomato cans. Nobody's. But they played a half of football both games. They are not scoring in the second half. If they play 60 minutes, what is this offense capable of scoring? I mean, they have not scored a fourth quarter point all year, even though, they put up these ridiculous offensive numbers. I like both their coordinator hires so far. I like Syracuse. I know it's on the road, Big Ten night game, but I think they're the superior team. What say you?
No, I'm with you. Listen, like the Q side. I don't like the over. Obviously, the over's gotten bet up pretty good here. But
are you still betting the over? I would still.
I'd still lean that way. It's not much as I loved it when it was first coming out, but I'd still lean Q's and the over. I think under 3 is probably the right side there. Purdue, as you said, I like what they're doing, like Ryan Walters. But they definitely seem to have some deficiencies. And Cuse, as you said, they've just put it on them and then been able to, take off the second halves on these teams. So yeah, they might be Listen, they get a little bit more, real deal than I especially thought, coming into the season. So I got to give and this will be a good litmus test to prove that.
I'll own it, guys. I'll lay the 2.5. Put it down for a bet for me. That'll be me. So if it loses, yell at me, not at Knish or Zach. I'll lay the 2.5. They're up 45-7 against Western Michigan at halftime. I know Western Michigan sucks, but I mean, you don't see teams do that unless they're pretty freaking good at this point in the season. So I love their new up tempo. They're playing how Babers wanted to play there when he took the job. And then you got Rocky Long. I know he's 85 years old, but the guy has forgotten more about defense than half the coordinators in college football know about defense. So I like that combo right now. Let's get to a few more here before we sign off. Old Dominion plus 14. I think that's late to the party. 7, I still think directionally that's the right side. I'm a part of it. I would wait, shop, see if you can get a 14.5. But this is an Old Dominion team that's much better than I anticipated. There's, your friends at Sport Trade there, or no? Yeah, no, I'm reading the wrong. FanDuel minus 115. Yeah, that's a bet as far as I'm concerned. Did you bet Old Dominion in this one?
I did not take part in this one so far. Yeah, I agree. I've been a little, I bet some Vandy last week, was underwhelmed with Wake Forest, and maybe it's just a Vandy issue because there was another one that Wake Forest did bleed some yards there, but I agree with I thought 14 was okay. Wasn't jumping out to me either way. But you know what? It's one of the FanDuel traders in there. Yeah, FanDuel, once they get a few pings on there, they start they've got it pretty built in there.
Oh my god, jeez, ridiculous.
Yeah, they.
I heard some horror stories on the earlier show. What they were pulling on the total. They're watching. I can tell you that.
Yeah, yeah, they
FanDuel, whoever.
Yeah, they've definitely got it queued up somewhere.
Make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button.
But no, I thought 14 was fine. I wasn't willing to get in on it either way at 14.
Fair enough. Wake Vanderbilt, kind of a misleading final. There was a defensive score there. Both probably should have went over. I know a friend of the program, Tailgate Tent, went over. We bet like under at a much different number earlier in the week. I felt fortunate when that one was all said and done. David Shaw in the chat. Any love for the boys in Logan, Utah? 78 spot on the board. How about that one? I'm sure most people weren't watching them play Idaho State, but 78-28, and a lot of it was in the first half. They have 50-some points in the first half. The best, I'm not there as far as did you bet them against Air Force?
No, I'll give them. I didn't think they could score 78 points with that offense against a high school team. So I'll give them credit for dropping. I know Idaho State isn't exactly your bet, but I haven't gotten involved. Now you made a good call last week on Sam Houston there, getting there versus their defense stepping up and getting on Air Force. Listen, they'll always have a special place in my heart. And they got the cover for us. The week 1 against Iowa. I'm not there with this team this year, particularly in kind of how I think their defense is okay. I think their offense is still really gross. And I don't know translation wise how that's going to look against an Air Force team who again got shut down a little bit against a very good Sam Houston State defense. I don't know if I feel as good about Utah State doing that.
So I'm going to say something. I will say this. I wouldn't say this if I wasn't late to the show, but I feel like I owe the people some actionable advice. You want to be betting Idaho State overs. I know it's low limit books. I know you got to beat guys like myself to bet those, but there's something fundamentally flawed with that football team. When you're playing San Diego State and it's a dead nut over game, watching that game, and then you're playing Utah State, which I would consider maybe more of an under team this year, and it's you're cashing an over ticket on the total midway through the second quarter. Something's fundamentally with that team right now where you want to be betting overs, at least for the time being, on those games. I would expect their total this week. I haven't even looked and seen who they're playing. That's going to move 10, 14 points on the line. I'm just telling you, that's what's going to happen. So there you go. Actionable advice. Wyatt in the chat, Georgia Southern plus 19.5. We already discussed that. I bet Wisconsin early, not at the current number. Knish likes the Georgia Southern side. Tune in the Friday show. If it gets to 2021, that might be part of the portfolio here. How about, oh, wow. Can't believe it's taking an hour to talk this. I wore this just for you, Knish. How about plus 40.5 Bowling Green? I don't think Michigan cares about covering these spreads. I wish they would last week. What the hell, man? I laid 34. I'm the only guy in the world that has a 34 ticket. They shut down UNLV all game. And it's just a classic. UNLV goes all the way down the field, gets that backdoor. Not for anybody else. Nobody else cares. I'm probably the only one that cares about the point spread in that game. But yeah, they backdoored my ass. What's going on with these Wolverines? They can't get margin.
The pay, they're. I mean, I saw someone. I wish I'd give them credit because I remember the tweet today calling them like a 5-star service academies where like they're just running at such an incredibly slow pace that it's hard to cover. There's not enough possessions to cover these, 35, 38. With that said, the defense is
bad,
like unbelievable. Yeah, I know. I don't think. I mean. They basically UNLV had to score against the third stringers. ECU had to do a field goal at the buzzer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, their defensive line is so dominant in these games versus the lower opponents. It's like, can Bowling Green score at all against anybody versus the unless they put in the Water Boys? I don't know. I mean, I'd need a 42 on BG. I'd say I understand it seems up there and. One of these games, they're going to start ripping at. They've missed some opportunities on offense the first couple. McCarthy has been the stone cold nuts over. Like he looks locked in so far. And a guy, if I was making a Heisman bet this week, a guy that at 20 to 1, 18 to 1 out there would be the ticket I'm playing.
This week you've been telling this story every week. Just keep this odds don't move.
For 2 years I've been back. But I tell you what, Michigan, they're all of a sudden like. They're not going to lose a game. They don't even have a losable game, really, until that Penn State game, which might be for the Big Ten championship at Happy Valley. So I tell you what, it's going to be and they do. The passing splits are different. They are passing the ball more this year. So yeah, I'm not getting in front of the train just yet on Michigan. I know they've had a couple of non-covers so far, but I would need a little bit more on BG to want to get involved there.
Yeah, quickly, because I do follow both programs regularly. I think the due factor kind of smells like Michigan's due to have a 50-plus point performance, so I kind of like the over a little bit. And I can tell you what BG will do that East Carolina UNLV didn't. BG will score possibly for Michigan, throwing interceptions. They are prone to turnovers, setting up Michigan for short fields. Don't believe me? Pop in the Liberty tape. It was ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe, they covered some early point spreads with 5 picks in that game. So I think this is the game where Michigan might get right offensively. So, yeah, I'm Mr. Falcooni, and I'm not betting plus 40.5. That says all you need to say there. A few more games here. North Carolina -7. Early money on the Tar Heels. I laid did I bet that one with you? Yeah, I did, I think. We're part of it, but I'm not laying 7. Numbers matter. Would you bet it now?
No, yeah, I agree. That was the, under 7, I think you're good. Not now at 7. Minnesota's offense just, it's, I mean, even like steam through there. I didn't even see the updated board, mostly 7.5. But no, and listen, I'm not even a UNC guy, but it's a Minnesota team that I just don't have faith in the offense when they can't run the ball.
Keep pace.
And yeah, I agree. I think I just don't. The passing offense is going to be really. And listen. I've trolled Gene Chizik probably more than anybody. The defense has been it looks improved from last year. I know they lost a ton of guys off last year's roster and everything, but hey, it's definitely better. And I don't know if Minnesota can take advantage. So yeah, but I'm just not looking to back the Gophers here.
Steve W in the chat, LSU -10. I'm part of the early LSU steam. Would you lay 10? I think Mississippi State's a fraud. A total fraud. I mean, they were +4 in turnovers and still had to win a game in overtime against Arizona. I think LSU crushes them. I know it's an early start time, this and that. Other people I respect kind of lean Mississippi State. I don't. And again, I go back to the LSU Florida State game. That was did you all watch the game? I mean, that wasn't 45-24, a 3-touchdown game for the first 40 minutes of that game. That Lacey kid drops a pass. I mean, they're going to go up late in the third quarter in that game. He drops a wide open pass. I think LSU's a little underrated in the markets. They just covered, a 55-point spread last week. I think if they put them, Brian Kelly needs some impressive wins to keep the locals down a little bit. I think if he can put a hammer on Mississippi State, I think he will. What say you there?
Yeah, obviously we got involved before it was at 10, but even at 10, I'm not a Mississippi State. I mean, they should have lost to Arizona. Arizona had 4 turnovers and had going into trying to score in OT. So I'm not in on Mississippi State at all. So yeah, it would be there's some games where you're looking to target a number like Georgia Southern buys up. You look at. I'm not looking to play Mississippi State. I mean, it would need to be a number that's never going to exist for me to want to get involved here. Because I don't want nothing to do with them in this game, in this spot versus a team that has significant talent margins all over.
We still lay 10. I'm okay with laying 10. Or no? You tell me.
It's hard.
All right, that's enough. When you pause. You pause. That's fine.
You don't find me speechless too often. That was a little bit of a gut punch there. Tough when you get in early to lay 10 out there. Let me give you another SEC one.
Yeah.
I like Georgia Tech, Ole Miss. Now, we were on Ole Miss last week. Might have gotten some of the Pratt info from good places, from good sources.
Yep.
I bet the 20.5. I'm not, and maybe I'm higher on the market than Georgia Tech, but I back them. Week 1 versus Bill. Again, then they played a bottom feeder FCS team last week, took care of business. I can't believe this is still sitting 20.5. To be honest with you here,
I was waiting for it to hit 21. I agree with you. This is a bet. Yeah.
I'm with you. I agree. I kind of love a 21, but even at 20.5, 20. Oh man, I would be surprised if this didn't. I'm kind of surprised it hadn't steamed down already. But that's one that I like Georgia Tech here. I thought the final score is not indicative of the game. I mean, Tulane was live in that game with the backup QB up until about 3 minutes to go. And it's a Georgia Tech team that I think is improved this year. So to give me 3 touchdowns against also Lane is one of those Sarkish team where I don't trust him to run it up against a decent opponent in kind of a spot after that. So I like the number here. I like the spot for Georgia Tech. I like getting Mississippi State off that competitive Tulane game. So yeah, at 20.5, that's a buy for me. I liked it. What say you?
I agree. I was just waiting for 21. I am prisoner in the moment. Sometimes I miss out. I wait for the absolute best number, and then I miss a secondary number. I was just anxious to see if it was going to touch 21, but I'm not sure it's ever going to get there. It ain't going to get there now with FanDuel watching and moving our stuff. I'm not a big spot guy anymore that I've aged, but you could say Alabama's on deck a little bit, fight and claw, scratching the Tulane game last week. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech was playing a tomato can. I like that Georgia Tech's. This is in the weeds. I like their offense corner. I like their game plan. I think he's an up and comer. I think this is one. And I don't trust even if Ole Miss gets out the big lead. I don't trust their defense. I mean, I was scared shitless with we're talking. I have 3.5, 4 in pocket with Ole Miss last week, and I'm still scared. Like you wouldn't believe. In that game that their defense was going to give up a score. So I'm with you. Love it. Best bet. You got anything else?
You want to go? Let's go. This is the show for it. We'll go way in the weeds here. The Minutemen, we've been fading them, the UMass for a little bit here, but I tell you what, I can't say they call him Puma. He was out last week. They bring in UMass. They bring in Carlos Davis as backup quarterback. He looked good. They put up a bunch of points on Miami, Ohio. They almost brought him back. I was worried. We had we laid some 5-6. I was worried that they were going to come back here.
Oh, I did too. I was getting pissed.
Eastern Michigan, I think, is bad. And that'll give me credit because on this show I've talked about how they used to be an absolute doormat and they've revamped the program. They kind of look back to the old Eastern Michigan. I don't think they should be laying 10 here versus a UMass team that, again, I know they've had a really tough schedule to start the year. I bet some UMass 10. I think they're a better passing offense with Davis at the controls. And listen, Don Brown, don't get me wrong, they've given up some points here to a few games in a row, but I don't think the delta here.
I was gonna say, man, you move the market. Is it still 10? Are we still buying
I
now?
was gonna say am I cherry picking the 10 at Circa there? I am. Yeah, it looks like there's only a spattering of 10s remaining. I don't want to give it out since it's not widely, but if you have access to the 10, I bet some 10. I liked it there. There's still some 10s out there. Honestly, I think that this is more around a touchdown for me. So especially with we got the okay today. Was a little worried that Davis, he came out of the game. Don Brown said it's precautionary. Looks like he's going to go. And so as long as, because their third stringer is like worst of all time bad. So, but I like it. So I think they're live in this game. I'll be honest with you. And again, Ypsilanti, Jordan, I'll tell you what, worst case scenario, UMass is down at half. Joey K drives up and starts harassing. There'll only be about 30 people there. I'll start, yelling obscenities at the Eastern Michigan coaching staff to get us back in. So
I didn't mind it. It's not one of my favorite stadiums, but it's certainly interesting.
The gray turf.
Zach in the chat, guess what happened to the Georgia State line? I don't know what happened to the Georgia State line. We didn't bet that one, did we? Against Charlotte? 7.5. It was 7.5. I don't know. I'm not. My internet sucks so bad. I don't want to get on anyone's bad side. I pull off all the screens, so I'm not. I don't have Don Best up or anything. I just have Knish's ugly mug and my ugly mug up right now, so I'm not looking at anything.
One more. Well, I got one. Look, one. So one of my guys, his favorite play of the week, his biggest fill was Oregon State laid it against San Diego State. And then I wasn't. Again, we bet some at last, but he was very bullish on it all the way.
Oregon State.
Yeah, and again, San Diego State. Now you mentioned it in the Idaho State piece of Idaho State was kind of competitive in that game versus San Diego State. I mean, San Diego State might be. I mean, they got smoked by UCLA. They were in a hang-around game versus Idaho State, who we think is absolutely terrible. Oregon State, on the flip side, I'm telling you, I think Oregon State is live in the Pac-12, and I know that they're not. They're kind of under the radar in terms of the elites of the Pac-12, but they look really good so far, and offense and defense. So, yeah, he was wanting every 22, 22 and a half, 23 that was out there.
Somebody beat me at Circus. Somebody laid 21. I didn't even get to it.
We got beat to that as well, but this was one that I think will, if anything, keep going up.
It's tough with laying this with a low total, but my numbers are 27. I bet 22.
Yep.
I like Oregon State. I think they smashed San Diego State, to be honest with you. I'm okay laying the 24 even. What say you?
No, I'm with you there.
All right,
that would kind of be the last buy price. If
yeah. Get the 24. FanDuel, since they're watching, go ahead and lay the 120 against them MFers right now. The 23.5 there. But, yeah, I like it quite a bit. I know it's in the weeds. Oregon State just smashed a top 10 FCS team. I mean, just humiliated them. And I don't think people realize power ratings wise, top 10 FCS teams are an 85th or 90th rated team in the FBS. So beating somebody by 50 points is raising my eyebrows. I also liked what they did against San Jose State. So, and I think San Jose State's much better than San Diego State so far this year. So there we go. Laying a number.
It's kind of you usually have a team that early on looks worse than expected versus a team that much better than expected. And I don't know if we're totally caught up yet in that, where I think there's still some value in this line that San Diego State looks really bad. And Oregon, I mean, I think Oregon State can, I'm not, they don't get the pub of the USC and stuff like that, but they look like a really solid football team so far on both sides of the ball. So yeah, this I think that's a good one there.
Anything else catching your eye before we sign off here? I'll get to a few things in the chat. Mickey Hill, Chiswick in a fight versus Knish. Yeah, I would take that too, even though Chiswick's getting up there. He looks,
Yeah, hey, I mean, listen, he might still be a little bit too good a shape for me to take that on as of yet. But hey, listen,
derivative market.
Everyone's got a price, baby. Listen, you get Jake Paul's fighting these, some guys they're getting $10 million. So you want to put me in the ring versus Chiswick for 7 figures?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Whoa. North Carolina. Speaking of that, North Carolina, Minnesota first half under 24.5. I'm not on that one. Are you on that one?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't get into the first half stuff until later in the week.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just it's a little
It's
too early
something
for me to dig into that at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of times it requires me to deep dive a little bit how I expect the game flow. So yeah, I'm not there yet. And wow, what a great first half play I had last week taking Southern Miss against Florida State. And speaking of that, because it was a spot play, the spot of all spots, take Wyoming plus 28.5 off
Man,
Texas off a huge win. I'm on. Are you there? I'm on.
It's like we talked about this before the week one with Wyoming versus Texas Tech, and I can't get it out of my. And even though they won the game, there was a point there like in the first quarter where I'm like, this is classic Wyoming versus like they just and maybe it's better this year and their defense. And I know they've had an impressive start to the year. I just think they get waxed versus most of these teams. They go up against in class here where I don't think a lot of the stuff and Peasley's been better. Their passing offense has been better than the year. I just think they're like the talent differential here, especially when some of these Mountain West teams, go up against the big boys. Like I don't let down spot, all that yada yada. Not for me. Like I don't want any piece of this one. To be honest with you, at like under 28, I'd probably lay Texas. Like I know the spot and all that. And Sark is not like if this was Nick Saban, I wouldn't care about all. Sark, you could be like, okay, you want to talk me into them having a little bit of a letdown, but I just don't think Wyoming's there. A team that I like want to get involved with on that.
Yeah, that was one missed opportunity in the FCS market last week against Portland State. They were laying a big number. Not even close against the Portland State team. I know that the 81 was in my head on Portland State, giving that up to Oregon the week before, but Wyoming's offense isn't there. Yeah, you texted me. I said, I think it's a little short. I think we got, 26.5. I thought the spread should be at least 4 touchdowns. So I got to bet on Texas in that game. I just don't know if Texas could be sleepy. And then Wyoming's not doing anything offensively. How does Wyoming move up and down the field against that Texas defensive front? I don't see it. Texas could be sleepy. And I mean, boom, bang. Have you seen their weapons? Yeah, you don't have to be locked in. I mean, I think that's got 42-7 written all over it. And it could be 14-7 at halftime. Recap, Brian, and we'll close out with this. Brian, can we recap the best bets before the end of the show? Yeah, we have Oregon State minus 24, Syracuse minus 2.5. We have Georgia Tech plus 20.5. I feel like I'm missing one. Am I missing one? Under was the play earlier this week. Oh, Florida. That was the one. Florida plus 7.5 there. And then obviously what counts in the records is the release. Make sure you're watching that every Monday morning. We took under in the FIU Connecticut game. We will have a lot more best bets, probably 4 or 5 more on the Friday show. Any closing thoughts, Knish?
You know what? Hey, no, I think we'll have some more. Hey, do we got to take? I don't want to go a show without it here. A Michigan State Washington take here with the the interim coach and Mark Antonio back on the sideline.
I skipped it for a reason. I think I might go contrarian here.
Oh,
yeah.
The old the bug. Listen.
Actually, statistically, Michigan State's been. Their metrics are pretty good. I know they haven't played anybody, but I like Mark D'Antonio. I like the program with a chip on their shoulder. That is the program that has this like mental thing about being little brother that they might play up to. The number's too high. I mean, but I will say this: if you're a longtime watcher of the show, I think the first bet we gave out, as far as sides and totals this entire football season, back in March. I think we laid 7 with Washington, didn't we?
Yeah, no, there was some. Yeah, but I don't know what the exact, but the over the summer numbers on that game were way too low. So that'll teach you to let me, even when it's July, you should be tuning in to HTB, baby.
Yeah, we'll try to get you some CLV. We will talk more about that one in depth because I'm anxious to see where the market goes with this one. If the negativity continues to go. I mean, obviously, right now it's Washington or nothing for most people. I understand that, but if it continues to tick up for me, I think I'll end up talking myself into Michigan State ticket. If you want to hear more about that game, if you want more best bets, make sure you're tuning in the Friday show, but also make sure that you're subscribed to the Hit the Books YouTube channel, so you get notified in real time whenever a new episode drops or we go live. If you do enjoy our content, please smash the like button. If you're listening in audio form, please rate and review 5 stars. For the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joey Knish. For Zach Phillips, our producer, I'm Brad Powers. You just watched Hit the Books.